Hey there, friends. Again, hey, these are my big glasses for big dreams. And I keep them right here on my desk. You know, you can look up above my desk and I have a mural of just a beautiful beach scene and birds and passive. It's how I like to think, but when I put on the big glasses, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy's magic shoes. It just puts me in the right frame of mind. And we got to find something like that for you. You know, early in my career, I had already obtained financial independence. I was 23, quit my job, and I went into a training. I invested in a small company, it was a co-op, a furniture co-op, but it was direct sales business. And the guy who owned it was a master communicator and a master salesman. And he taught us all the ethical and moral ways, but here's the one thing he stressed. If you want to get better, if you want to make money and build a business, here's what our business is about. We want to have fun, make friends, and make money. Have fun, make friends, make money. And you know what? This is my way of just being real with you and having some fun with you. Also, along the way, I learned a lot of things about money. You know, money is a strategic game. Some people get it, some people don't. One of the messages I got that I think would be really important for you at this point is what we call the law of scared money. And here's what the law of scared money says. Good luck never comes to people who need good luck. Have you ever noticed that before? You got to have something, you really need it, and it just doesn't come. And that's what happens to people who chase these seminars out of that, or that are preaching to flip this house, and flop that house. There's no real estate investor who's big that subscribes to that. It just doesn't work that way. You have to build up multi-unit residential or commercial property. Starting with multi-unit residentials are the easiest. Now, a flip a house can be an entrance or exit strategy, but what we're looking for is circumstances and opportunities. We're looking for a motivated seller. Someone who's had a job change. Maybe the husband or wife died. Maybe they're getting older and just don't want to deal with that business anymore. That's what we're looking for, a motivated seller. And then we're looking for any opportunity or circumstance that comes along. So let's say I'm prospecting multi-unit residential property and I'm talking to the seller. They happen to own a single family house. If they're willing to sell it at the right price and I can resell it, rehab it, and I can make money, well, that's an exit entrance strategy. I wouldn't want to run away from that. That's why we like to teach you a whole host of ways to make money and start to open your mind. Just like I was telling you, I'll drive down the street and see a rundown, beat-up property. I say, holy cow, it's a gold mine, or boarded-up property. Most people would run from that. I see a gold mine. So it's a matter of opening your eyes to where the opportunities are. And I'll bet you, well, once we take you through some of the training, you'll drive down the same street you've been driving down and see a whole new vision of what's there. So I think that those who chase that get-rich-quick scheme, we're going to get rich flipping houses, flopping houses. Two things with that. Number one, they're all major renovations, ripping down walls, putting in plumbing, putting on roofs. That's a lot of work. You might as well be a contractor. What we're looking for is just cosmetic, paint, cleanup, a little landscaping, change the carpets, clean the carpets, maybe a new counter, gingerbreading up. We want to spend the least amount of money that gets us the most amount of cosmetic improvement and the least amount of work. That's where the money is. And then we want to build up the multi-units that builds up our monthly cash flow. And I hope that's making sense to you. The next question I get all of the time is, well, how many of your students are successful? And that's a great question and a valid question, but I think people are expecting a different answer that's not the real answer. I can tell you this. I would say most everybody is in one way, shape, or form. For example, you get into one of our training programs, or back when I was doing these, big seminars. Now we like to keep it very, very tight. We like to keep our client base close, like a family, secure, knowing they're getting good information, the ability to call us and have coaching or questions answered. And the way you get to that is by simply booking your call. If you click on that button below, book the call, free call. And let's just get started. Let's get started talking anyway. But anyway, here's the answer to that question. I've had people come to our previews years ago, and they would get enough out of that very first free preview to go do something. With some, I think the success was you can't figure out what you want to do until you know what you don't want to do. Someone might come in and say, this isn't for me, or they don't like the speaker. There's a success there. And they have little to no investment in that free seminar. What you'll notice is the more successful ones who have more skin in the game, more blood in the game, they pick up the phone. They book the consulting call. They get into the next dipping a toe in the water and seeing how comfortable that feels. And if they feel comfortable with the info, or if it's for them or not, that's all the success. But I also have people who have come through our trainings and went out and bought a duplex or two. Okay, so we taught them to loan no money down. They then go out and they get a duplex. So they've talked to a banker, maybe they've gotten seller financing. They learn how to add up the rents, deduct the expenses, see if there's cash flow. They manage and rent the property. One duplex is a whole business in and of itself. Not a big business, but all of the same things that need to be done in a big business can be done with a duplex. I can tell you that's given people immense confidence. Mom and dad didn't teach them about wealth or money, maybe because they didn't have it and didn't have that experience. So what they taught them is, hey, listen, you get a job, go to work, don't try anything too risky, and everything will be all right. And that's a sentence for failure. Maybe some people get in the corporate environment, and they work their way up, manage in a Fortune 500 company, they can make a lot of money. But it's still a 9 to 5. You don't have any control over your time. I know with millennials particularly, they want flexible time. Baby boomers want flexible time, especially if you're mid-baby boomer. You don't have to be at a property 8 hours a day. Once you've got it up and running, maybe once or twice a month, if that, you go check on the property. The tenants live there, the tenants pay the rent. You could be in Europe, you're still getting the rent. You have flexible time. It's worth investigating no matter what. Like I told you, I was skeptical. Not skeptical, I was afraid when I first started. When I think about success, I try to reminisce. But when I see success or talk success, everybody has some bit of it when they come through these training programs. Even if they find out it's not what you wanted to do, I consider that a success. More skin in the game, the more I think the more ingrained you are to take it seriously and really want to get there. And if that's the case, we're the real McCoy here. As you get into our coaching sessions, you're going to see everything from a duplex onto a rooming house, different things in your neighborhood that you never thought make money that are the money. You're going to see right on up to, in 2002. And you'll see these examples. In 2002, I bought a property here in Cape Coral. It was an intersection, 4 corners, 7 acres apiece. I bought it for $1.3 million with investors, sold it for $8 million in 2005, 2 years later, when the market was hot. That doesn't happen every day. 13 years later, those people got foreclosed on. The bank that foreclosed on them saw I was in the title, came back. This is 1 year ago today. And they needed a quick sale. I bought the property back for $1.5 million, $1.46 a square foot. It has at least an $8 square foot value, $8 per square foot value. So what I bought back for $1.5 million 13 years later is now worth about $7 million. This happens if you're playing a game. Nothing can happen until you start to make things happen. So I'm focusing on success. When I think of success, you know what? I think of Mark Harrelson, first of all. That was my first mentor. I talked to you about him. He wrote the book, How to Wake Up the Financial Genius Inside You. Well, guess what? Several years later, when I sent this, all my manuscripts for the Hurdles and Pitfalls book out to all these publishers that got turned down, I never met Mark Harrelson in person. We had no relationship. It was his company that picked my book up. See how things, revolve? And he was my mentor. He's the one who taught me about the cosmetic distress and how it's a calculated investment to absolutely change my life. And I can tell you that I know we can do that for you. And anywhere along the line where you feel it might not be for you, then you just stop. I don't think that's going to happen if you're really serious about changing your life, though. I really don't. So Mark Carrollton was worth tens of millions of dollars. We became friends over time. He's a friend of mine now. I'd like to have you listen to Mark for a moment.
Unlike so many real estate people you see on TV, the infomercials and all that, so many of them haven't done it. They're just preaching it. Russ has done it. He's gone out and bought, fixed up, and made a ton of money, just like he made more than I did. He outdid his teacher by a long way. But at my age, I don't care about that. What I like to do, and what I see Russ doing right now, is giving back, because that's where you really get the life satisfaction and joy and contentment. And I can't say it any stronger than that. I really believe that because I've seen it happen.
When I think about success ratios, like we talked about, how many people are successful, it makes me think of Virgil Klunder. And some of these things that I'm talking to you about happened 30 years ago. And they've evolved based on this basic initial training, built something very big, and in some cases nothing to do with real estate, but it was that first duplex that got him on the roll. Virgil, he started a few businesses. Let me just back up a minute. He lived in Iowa. He's 20 years old. Went to one of our seminars, still in college, renting. I get a letter from him, and we have the letter. I'll show it to you. Saying he bought a couple of like a duplex, fourplex, and he used one of our techniques and actually made $10,000 instead of having to give a down payment, which is all incorporated into our trainings. Along the way, I think what he'll tell you is the communication, negotiation, and salesmanship that we taught. And there's hours and hours of that, but we intersperse all of this training based on the penicillin that we think you need at that time. And he started a company, it's flying sugar bears, look it up. Flying squirrels they are. They're little tiny house pets for the house. He got the exclusive right to import these, and he built this business based on him homeschooling his children and wanted to take them through the whole course of how to start a business. Well, that business today does something like $40 million. I visited Virgil just a short time ago, and lives on a 200-acre ranch in Nashville, Tennessee. It's like a whole camp. He went from nothing, adopted, to build a multi-million-dollar business. I'd like you to hear from Virgil.
Hey, Russ, Virgil here. I was going through an old file of old notes the other night, and I came across this letter that I wrote you over 30 years ago now. And I wanted to just sit down for a second and make you this quick video to tell you how profoundly grateful I am that you came into my life. You are one of the mentors that I credit every day with changing my life, not only monetarily, but personally, spiritually, in virtually every way. There's not hardly a day that goes by I don't teach the lessons that you taught me back when I was 19. When I first got your Hurdles and Pitfalls real estate book, I was about 19 years old, living in a single bedroom apartment with two other guys and didn't have, a dime to my name or anything. I had tried all kinds of real estate books, all kinds of stuff, the get rich quick stuff. None of it worked for me until I got your Hurdles and Pitfalls book, because it was real practical knowledge. I remember my first time I made an offer to a banker, I literally was reading exactly what you said to read the banker, and it worked. And that gave me the confidence that literally changed the rest of my life. When I first, when all this stuff started to work for me, I literally showed up at your door one day and wouldn't go away, because the information that you taught me was so profound that I literally dropped everything to see what other information you had that I could use to change my life. And Russ, I got to tell you, it's not just the money. The money has been great. I went from, and Russ, you know my story. I was the first person in my family to graduate from high school, much less go on to college. My dad was a janitor, never made more than $12 grand a year. And Because of you, I was able to retire by the time I was 20 years old. The first time. I retired half a dozen times since because of all the things that you taught me that didn't have to do with money, largely. Russ, if I could count the number of times I have quoted you over the last 30 years, because of what you did for me, I've spent the last 30 years of my life trying to give back and trying to mentor to other people and affect their lives in the way that you have. And I use the lessons that you've taught me every single day. From just simple, fundamental life lessons that apply to everything, like being successful at anything in life is not doing any great one big thing, obvious thing right. It's a sum total of doing a lot of little things right that virtually nobody thinks is important. Things like, don't let your learning lead to knowledge and education because it'll get you nowhere. Let it lead to action and it'll change your life. Things like that. Russ, those have all become cornerstones of my entire existence. And again, because of you, I have led a ridiculously blessed life beyond anything that I deserve. And Russ, that's where your program differs. Not only do you give people the tools that they need to actually succeed in life, things they can actually take and apply, but you show them and you teach the fundamental lessons it's going to make them happy along the way. And so, for example, like with me, I live on a wonderful 200-acre gated estate. I have more toys than I know what to play with. I don't know if you can see over the shoulder here, I have a wedding chapel that my wife and I got married in. You can see over in the corner there's a 75-foot pirate ship on my own private lake. From a material standpoint, Russ, I've got everything and more than I ever could have wanted. But that's not why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because I want to thank you for the life lessons that you've taught me that I use every single day. If you think you cannot do this, if you think you cannot break free, you're wrong. Okay? One of two things is going to change your life, inspiration or desperation. For me, it was definitely desperation. When I got that Hurdles and Pitfalls book, I was at my wit's end. All I knew was I wanted to be rich. I didn't know how misguided that was, but at that point in time, I thought, well, if I'm just rich, then everything else is going to be great. And of course, it doesn't work like that. But that's why I'm profoundly grateful that I had you as a guide and a mentor over these last 30 years. Because it's not just about making money, it's about being fulfilled. And Russ, again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to you and to any students out there who are considering getting on board with you. By all means. If I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing stopping you except your own willpower. The fact that Russ's programs that make money is a given. It just flat out works. The only question is, are you going to work it? I challenge you, do the same things I did and you can have exactly the same life that I do. It's just not that complicated. We make things way too complicated, and that's one of the beauties of what you do, Russ, is you make things simple. You make things doable. Where other courses that I've taken and things like that, they're so complex and so highbrow that I in the beginning, I couldn't get started. I didn't have the confidence to do it. You gave me that confidence and you changed my life. Thank you, buddy.
It's funny, but when I think of success, I think of people. I think of people just like you. One that really resonates with me is Terry and Perry Penny. They came to us, oh my gosh, gotta be 20 years ago. And they were just kids, married, looking for a chance, living in Detroit in rough times. And, young, didn't know much, but they had excitement and they had belief. They came through our training programs, and I want to say within a year or two, I'd love to show you the letter, and we will. A year or two, they bought some significant amount of property, starting with just nothing, using our strategies. Today, they have multiple properties. They're mortgage brokers. They run the real estate investment academy in their neck of the woods in Michigan. And when I look at Terry, I look at her before and after properties, but then I look at her before and after Terry. And you take a look. Here's the one picture. Yeah, when we started with, here's 25 years later. What a transformation. I'm not saying that's all due to money. There's a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem in that smile. I could go on and on. What I love about this is these letters from clients and students. We have tons of them that are from 35 years ago, 30 years ago, 25, who are still involved with this family, who have built big, big, big things. You'll also see there's a lot of these internet guys. They've all come through my training. Every seminar company out there, I'm going to tell you, will call me the guru's guru, and I don't know that I like that, that title. Seems kind of silly because I'm a real estate investor and a businessman. But there's not many that haven't come through our training. There's not many who haven't come to me to consult with them in person about their business because they know, coming through those first trainings, what happened to their lives. So you can bet that we take our business seriously, and we take you very seriously as well. And when I say that, I think of a most recent one. So let's go from 30 years ago all the way forward. Let's take a recent one within, past month. No, probably the past year. Ryan DiGiovanni signed on and asked me for consulting personally. Young kid, just getting started, not sure what he was doing, and he was chasing kind of the wrong path. Let's take a look at Ryan Giovanni.
Since I did the private mentorship, I was able to, when I joined Russ's group, I had 10 rental properties, and since then I've built up to about 67 rental properties and 2 commercial properties.
Oh, good. What kind of commercial properties?
2 small apartments. Yeah, no, I wasn't going to sign up at all until they told me, hey, you're going to have Russ Whitney as your private mentor. So once he told me that, I was, I said, where do I sign, right? So it's really cool. In the mentorship, I think the things that helped me the most were I was young, I'm still young, but I had a lot of different ideas and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just starting a business, so I'd get with Russ and every time we'd talk, I'd have a different idea. Hey, Russ, I want to buy an RV park, a 50-unit RV park. And he'd get somebody on the phone who's wrote a book about RVs and who owns thousands of RV parks. I want to open an assisted living facility. And he'd get somebody on the phone that I could talk to and give me advice. Just a lot of different businesses that I wanted to possibly do until I found my niche. And I think I finally found my niche as small apartments. So I could give you the breakdown on the small apartment that I just bought. I paid $525 for it 6 months ago. I put $100,000 into it. I raised the rents from $450 to $850, and I kicked out 17 people for non-payment. And I just refinanced it about 2 weeks ago, and it appraised for $1.1 million. So I made, about $500,000 in equity on the deal. It's pretty great.
Well, here we are, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed some of our talks. I certainly have. The luxury I get is I always get to spill some of my own medicine on myself. It always gives me energy and a smile to be sharing this kind of information. And I love our trainings because they get me back out into the field of where I started. Sometimes we forget what we did that got us where we are. So there's always a benefit in it for me. It always jazzes me up. There's nothing that replaces a smile or a call from somebody who's hit a milestone. And I would love for you to be that person. So what's holding you back? We've had a lot of time together. If it's a fear, let's talk about it. If it's money, let's talk about it. Whatever the issue may be, there'll never be an embarrassment in it. I want to see if you're a fit and whether we have a synergy together. You want to see if I'm a fit. I haven't gotten to meet you yet, but I want to. I would love for you to just go ahead and click that button and get a calendar appointment to talk with me or one of my closest advisors. And we all talk about each application. So it's that tight a group. And I don't want to say we're picky. I don't want to sound arrogant like that. But we want a group of people who really want to get there, who want to put some time and effort into it. With a synergy, right, we both get a benefit, I want one too. I want you to bring some energy. I want you to bring your fears. And the way to start that is click the button and let's make the coaching call. It's free. Mark Carrollton, the way I got started wasn't free. It was a $10 book, How to Wake Up the Financial Genius Inside You. And you know what? I had already sent it for a bunch of these get-rich-quick schemes that didn't work. But I didn't quit. I took the shot. And thank God I did, because I ran the football down to the 5-yard line. And right there, when that next opportunity would work, I could have quit. Thank God I didn't, because I would nowhere be near living the life that I've lived and I am blessed with and want to see you get blessed with. It was $10 for me to buy that book. And that may not sound like a lot of money to you, but back then, making $6.50 an hour with a child already, I had my first baby when I was 20 years old, it was another big risk, really. So I want to give you the better benefit. I want you to hit the calendar appointment, make your appointment, and it'll be free. So I'm going to give you a better deal than he gave me. But I really would like to see you get some belief. If you've been to, these other seminars that didn't work, or they're hype and baloney, there's a lot of that out there. And there's even more of it on the internet. So if you don't get with us, just be careful. Click the button and let's talk.